Hey there, so this will be the last video on the M3 Compact. I will talk you through a lap of Zolder, which is a really fun track in Belgium. Um, it is a much shorter track than Spa-Francorchamps, but very fun nonetheless. It is very intense. You don't get any time to relax, so there's no long straight um, like Spa on Radion. There is a bit of a straight, but it's pretty short. And it is very hard on brakes. So where on one end of the spectrum you might have Nürburgring, which is really easy on brakes. Zolder is definitely on the opposite end. A lot of because it's very stop-start, and as a result, brakes get hammered. With a 330 millimeter VMAX big brake kit that I installed on the compact M3 compact, it was never enough for Zolder, despite running endless pads and having significant brake cooling via two brake cooling ducts per side. Um, at Zolder, I could do one push lap if I'm pushing to the maximum. If I just do one lap, the brakes are um, you know, are not gone, but I definitely notice reduced braking for performance for the second lap. And interestingly, so you'll see here in the background, I have One Lap Heroes open. So if you haven't checked out One Lap Heroes, definitely do. They create some awesome content. Uh, I really love their channel. You should really check it out. Um, so I was it you know to I think to start with, when One Lap Heroes did their guide to um, as a series called One Lap of Europe or something. They went around and went to different tracks and introduced them. I looked at the lap times that Costas was doing in his MX-5. I was thinking, wow, that's really fast. Um, as my experience with my own car grew and my skills improved, I was actually able to get close to and in some cases even beat the lap time from Costa's MX-5. Uh, but uh, comparatively, it seems like I managed a much faster lap around Zolder than um, than Spa compared to Costas. I think this is maybe no, to be expected, mainly due to the fact that RSR, for whom I believe Costas works, they have a site in Spa-Francorchamps as well called RSR Spa, and then as a result of that, I'm guessing Costas knows Spa much better than Zolder. Um, so where my lap time is very similar to Costas' lap time in the MX-5 at Spa, um, I was able to go significantly faster around Zolder. So I managed to get down to a 149. Um, comparing, yeah, my lap to another friend who has so my friend James, who has a M135i but heavily modified. I think it's a similar picture from what I remember. So I think he got down to 254 around Spa, but 152 or 153 around Zolder. So the gap around Zolder is comparatively bigger. Why that is, I'm not totally sure. I do remember it is true that the Zolder lap was a very good one. If I think about it, I think I pretty much got every corner perfect. And compared to my other laps, which were some other laps which were also pretty good, I think this particular one, the difference was really finding the time in trail braking. So trail braking is where you are finishing the braking while you're actually already turning into the corner. So obviously this is risky, uh, but yeah, it is the difference. It's like you notice you can literally brake sometimes 20-30 meters later just through trail braking. And at Zolder, that is especially evident in turn one. So let's play this lap.
Building your online business? Go to Wix.com and set up.
So this is a very short straight. So here, so this is the corner that I'm talking about. So you'll see, let me reduce the volume a little bit. It's difficult. So you will see that it's a relatively open corner, and whereas when I initially started and I wasn't that confident, I would brake much earlier than this. Once I became really confident, I could start braking much later. I think maybe in this case, maybe up to 50 meters later. So at this point, as I'm turning in, I'm still on the brakes. So not fully on the brakes, but slowly coming off. And obviously with trail braking, the more your more steering angle you got on, the more you have to come off the brakes. But I think the turn 1 of Zolder is a perfect example of where you can use trail braking to improve your lap time. But obviously, when you're first experimenting with trail braking, you might mess up, and I definitely messed up a few times. There was once where, due to the trail braking, I had a lot of oversteer and actually ended up in the gravel on the outside. Over there. Oh, you cannot see me, but yeah, out there. And there was also one instance where coming through this corner, it was half between drift and grip, but it was definitely not the fastest way. But in this case, in this particular instance, I think I got the braking and the trail braking more or less spot on, and was able to tease the car into So this corner is actually really tricky. It's always hard to figure out the right line and downshift. But if you get it perfect, it feels absolutely awesome. And this is the second corner where trail braking really can help improve your lap time. So whereas initially I would finish my braking in a straight line, come off the brakes and then turn in roughly here, on this particular lap I initiated the braking way later, and I was braking all the way down to the apex. So even at this point I was still braking. Run it out all the way to the outside. Of course, maximize the usage of the track. In this particular instance, I think I should have actually not upshifted before this corner. That was unnecessary. So you can see, like, I upshifted and then immediately had to start braking, and so in this case it would have been better to just rev it out, even maybe hit the limiter, but not upshift. So it was not quite the perfect lap, but it was pretty good nonetheless. So hard over the curbs, and then try to straight line it as much as possible, and get hard on the power. Trail brake into the chicane. point, you want to um, accelerate as much as possible, but you're going through these turns, so it is a bit of a balance with the throttle. So having the limited slip differential here really helps. If it was an open differential, you'd just be bleeding away speed as you through one tire fire in this kind of in these kind of corners. But having a limited slip differential, you can power through it. And in fact, if you stood on the power too much, you would spin the car. So through these corners, especially this one, it's really balancing the car on the throttle to get through as fast as possible while not spinning out. On this particular lap, I think I managed the throttle very well and avoided oversteer through the second part of the chicane. So what would happen on a typical lap if you're not careful? But I think through a combination of what I described previously in terms of reducing the rear tire pressure and being very careful with the throttle, I was able to avoid that. So that concludes the series talking about my previous track cars. I think in the coming videos I will start talking about the new car that I have here in California, and maybe some of the things that I've done to it to try and prepare for track day. Might not be as spicy and exciting as some of the modifications done to the to my old track cars, but I think it should be interesting nonetheless, to show the full spectrum of very modified cars, which was what I had, and slightly less modified, which is what I have now.